Mira walked through the busy spaceport, her long hair catching the bright lights of the hovering ships above. The air smelled of fuel, metal, and something sweet from the nearby food stalls. People from different planets and star systems moved around her, carrying packages, hurrying to catch their ships or laughing in groups. Mira's eyes sparkled with curiosity, but she held herself with careful elegance. She was the daughter of a wealthy trader, born with comfort and expectation. Everyone admired her beauty and her poise. Everyone except her father, who reminded her constantly that she must marry someone important and strong in trade. Someone who could help the family grow richer and stronger. Mira did not want to admit it, but she felt restless. The life she had was golden and comfortable, but it felt small. She wanted adventure. Something exciting beyond the glittering walls of her father's mansion and the endless numbers and ledgers. Yet she was careful. She had learned to hide her curiosity behind polite smiles and soft words. Because appearances mattered in her world, Tovin worked in the lower decks of the spaceport. Among the roaring engines, the leaking fuel pipes, and the smell of hot metal. He was a mechanic, small in stature, but large in determination. His hands were always smudged with grease, and his clothes never looked clean. Yet he moved with confidence as he repaired starships that many thought were impossible to fix. He loved machines. He loved understanding them, taking broken parts, and making them better than they were before. Tovin had dreamed of building his own starship one day, a ship that could travel farther, faster, and safer than any other. But dreams alone could not pay for parts, tools, and knowledge. Every day, he worked on small repairs for traders, cargo pilots, and sometimes for wealthy clients who wanted fast fixes. They often ignored him, looked down at him because he was poor, but Tovin never let their judgment shake his pride. He believed in himself. It was one bright morning when Mira first noticed Tovin. She had come to the spaceport with her father, who wanted to inspect the family's cargo shipment. Mira wandered away from the group, drawn by the sound of clanking metal and the smell of burning oil. She found Tovin, crouched under a small star freighter, his hands moving quickly, adjusting wires and engines. Sparks flew around him, but he did not flinch. He was focused, completely lost in his work. Mira stood quietly, watching. She had never seen anyone work with such intensity, such skill. The way he understood machines, as if they were alive, fascinated her. She felt a strange pull in her chest, a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Tovin noticed her after a while. He wiped his hands on a rag and stood up, smiling politely. "Can I help you, miss?" he asked. His voice was gentle, but firm, carrying the confidence of someone who knew his worth, even without wealth. Mira felt her heart beat faster. I was just watching," she said softly. "You're very skilled," Tovin shrugged. "I do my best. Machines do not lie. They either work or they do not. I prefer truth over words." Mira smiled, impressed by his simplicity and honesty. "I like that," she said. Most people care too much about words. They talked for a few minutes. Tovin explained the repairs he was doing, the challenges of making a ship work perfectly, and his dreams of building a starship of his own. Mira listened, fascinated. His ideas were bold, clever, and full of hope. She could not help but admire him. But Mira's mind reminded her of her world. She was expected to marry someone wealthy, someone influential. Tovin had nothing but tools, grease, and dreams. She could not imagine herself with someone so poor. She took a deep breath and smiled politely, trying to hide the conflict in her heart. "I'm sorry," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "You are talented, and I admire you, but I cannot." She hesitated, looking down. "I cannot spend time with someone who cannot offer stability. I have to think about my family, my future." Tovin looked at her quietly. He did not seem angry. He nodded slowly, understanding but disappointed. "I understand," he said simply. "Thank you for your honesty. It is better than pretending." Mira smiled again, feeling a strange pain in her chest. She turned to leave, but before she could walk away, Tovin spoke again. "Miss Mira," he said, using her full name politely. "Remember one thing. Wealth and comfort are easy to chase. Skill, heart, and determination are harder. Someday you might see which is truly stronger. Mira paused. His words struck her, but she ignored the unease in her heart. She walked away, telling herself she had done the right thing. She returned to her father, who was discussing trade routes with a client, and smiled as if nothing had happened. Tovin returned to his work, his hands steady and focused. He felt a sharp sadness, but also a quiet fire inside. He promised himself that one day he would prove not to Mira, but to himself, that he could achieve greatness. He would create something no one had ever imagined. He would rise without begging, without borrowing, only through skill, persistence, and courage. Days turned into weeks. Mira often thought of Tovin, though she would never admit it. She told herself he was just a poor mechanic, and she had done what was expected. Still, sometimes when she watched the ships fly above the spaceport, she wondered what he was doing, whether he was succeeding. Tovin's life was not easy. He worked long hours, ate simple meals, and slept in a small room above the workshop. But every day he studied, practiced, and learned. He experimented with new technologies, drew designs for engines that could travel faster than light, and repaired ships that others considered unsalvageable. Slowly, word of his skill spread. Traders began to seek him out, willing to pay more for his talent. Yet, even with growing recognition, Tovin remembered Mira, not in anger, but as a reminder that life had many paths. He believed that people who valued comfort over skill might never understand the strength of determination. This belief became his guiding principle. One evening, Tovin stayed late in the workshop, repairing an old cargo ship that had been abandoned for months. The ship's engine was rusted and almost useless, but Tovin worked with patience. He examined every wire, every gear, and slowly, carefully, he restored it. When the engine finally roared to life, he leaned back, exhausted but proud. "This is only the beginning," he whispered to himself. "I will build a ship that no one can ignore. I will prove that skill, courage, and heart matter more than gold." Meanwhile, Mira attended a grand party at her father's estate. Wealthy traders, diplomats, and influential figures filled the room. The music played softly and people laughed and exchanged news of business and trade. Mira smiled and spoke politely, but inside she felt a strange emptiness. She looked at the stars outside the tall windows and felt a longing she could not explain. She thought of Tovin, the mechanic who had spoken truth to her. At the time, she had dismissed him as poor and unworthy of her attention. Now, surrounded by wealth and luxury, she wondered if she had made the right choice. She pushed the thought away. She could not allow herself to question her decisions. Life demanded obedience to rules, and she had always been careful to follow them. Still, that night as she lay in her comfortable bed, Mira felt a seed of doubt. She realized that admiration and attraction were not measured by wealth alone. Some force beyond her control made her remember the small workshop, the sparks flying from the engine, and Tovin's calm, confident voice far away. Tovin slept in his modest room, dreaming of engines, starships, and distant planets. He dreamed of a ship that could take him to the far reaches of the galaxy, a ship that would carry him toward greatness. He also dreamed of proving that no one could limit him because of his birth or his poverty. And so, the paths of Mira and Tovin began, separated by wealth, status, and expectations. Yet bound by a moment of truth, a meeting that neither could forget. One would chase comfort and security, and the other would chase dreams, skill, and heart. The future was unknown, but the fire in Tovin's soul would not be extinguished. It was the beginning of a story that would change both of their lives forever. Tovin's small workshop smelled of oil and metal as always, but it had begun to feel different. Traders from neighboring planets came to him not just for repairs, but to ask for advice on starship engines. He worked tirelessly, studying ancient blueprints, testing engines, and designing new systems that no one had dared to imagine. His hands were always covered in grease and his clothes were worn, but he moved with confidence. Every spark of fire from a welding tool, Every hum of a repaired engine was a note in the symphony of his dreams. He knew the path would be long and difficult. He had no wealth to support his experiments. Parts had to be scavenged, designs borrowed and adapted, and nights were spent sleeping on the floor of the workshop. Yet he smiled through the exhaustion because every small success was a step toward his goal. Tovin's mind was sharp, and he had a gift that few could match. He could see how machines could grow and improve, and how they could carry humans further than ever before. One afternoon, a trader named Dallin entered the workshop. He was a man of influence, traveling between star systems, dealing in rare metals and technologies. His ship had been damaged during a delivery, and his crew had refused to repair it, saying it was beyond hope. Tovin studied the ship's engine carefully. "It is old," he said quietly, "but not broken. It can fly again if treated correctly." Dallin raised an eyebrow. "You are confident for someone so small and young?" Tovin smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "Experience comes with effort. Money does not fix everything." Dallin studied him for a moment. There was something about Tovin, a quiet power that did not demand attention, but naturally drew respect. Finally, Dallin nodded. "Repair it then. If it flies, I will bring more ships to you. If it does not, I will leave, and you will have wasted your time." Tovin worked day and night. He replaced broken parts, modified the engine, and strengthened the fuel systems. When the ship finally roared to life, its engine humming with power and precision, Dallin was amazed. "I have never seen such skill," he said. "Where did you learn this?" Tovin shrugged. "I learned by trying, failing, and trying again. The machines teach more than books ever could." Word of Tovin's success spread quickly. Traders, engineers, and even explorers began to visit his workshop. Some came to repair ships, others to study his methods. Every project made him stronger, more respected, and more confident. The little workshop that had seemed insignificant now buzzed with life, ideas, and hope. Tovin's dream went further than fixing other people's ships. He wanted to build his own starship, one that could travel faster and safer than any other. He began designing it piece by piece, thinking about propulsion systems, navigation, shields, and fuel efficiency. Each drawing was meticulous, each calculation precise. He worked alone, but he imagined the crew that would someday travel aboard the ship. Humans exploring distant stars and new planets. His inventions grew more ambitious. He created engines that used energy more efficiently, shields that could withstand powerful storms in space, and communication systems that could reach far beyond known sectors. Traders began paying him not just for repairs, but for his designs and advice. Slowly, his modest income became larger, and he was able to buy better tools, better parts, and hire a few apprentices who shared his passion. One day, while examining an ancient engine core from a derelict ship, Tovin had an idea that made his heart race. He realized that with a special modification, a starship could travel farther than anyone had thought possible. He spent weeks designing the prototype in his mind and on paper, calculating every detail. He sketched and erased, tested and redesigned. Every failure taught him more than any success could. During this time, Mira's life had taken a very different path. She had married a wealthy trader named Laren, a man known for his connections and influence in trade networks. Her life was comfortable, full of luxury, elegant parties, and endless travel in first-class ships. Yet, she felt a quiet emptiness. The comfort and wealth she had chosen did not fill the space in her heart that had once felt curious and alive. Sometimes, she found herself thinking of Tovin, the mechanic she had dismissed. She never admitted it to anyone, not even herself. Back in the workshop, Tovin was oblivious to Myra's life. He had no time for regret or longing. His mind and energy were devoted to creation, to skill, to building something extraordinary. He believed that humans could rise beyond circumstances, beyond poverty and doubt. That belief drove him faster than any starship engine ever could. Months passed, and Tovin finally completed the first version of his starship, which he named the Skyward Arrow. It was small but powerful, designed for speed, safety, and long-distance travel. Its engines hummed with quiet strength, and its hull shone under the light of the spaceport. Tovin could hardly contain his excitement. This was not just a ship. It was proof that humans could achieve greatness through courage, knowledge, and determination. He invited Dallin and a few trusted traders to witness the ship's first test flight. They watched as Tovin climbed into the cockpit, his hands steady, his eyes focused. The ship lifted off with a smooth roar, accelerated faster than any other ship in the port, and navigated a complex series of obstacles with precision. When it landed safely, the spectators erupted in applause. Tovin stepped out, smiling but calm, proud but not boastful. "Remarkable," Dallin said, shaking his head. "You have done what no one else believed possible. This will change everything." It is only the beginning. There is more to learn, more to build, more to achieve. Word of Tovin's skyward arrows spread across star systems. Orders came from distant planets. Investors sought his designs, and engineers wanted to study his work. Tovin's reputation grew. He was no longer the small, poor mechanic in a dusty workshop. He was an innovator, a creator, a symbol of human potential. Despite his rising fame, Tovin remained humble. He continued to work in his workshop, teaching his apprentices, testing engines, and improving his designs. He believed that success was not measured in wealth alone, but in knowledge, skill, and the ability to lift others as one rose. Yet, deep in a quiet corner of his mind, Tovin thought of Mira, not with anger, but as a reminder of the choices people make, of the moments that shape a life. He remembered her polite rejection, her concern for comfort over courage. It had stung then, but now it served as a quiet motivator. He did not wish to prove her wrong. He wished only to prove himself right, that determination and skill could outshine wealth and status. One evening, Tovin looked up at the stars from the roof of his workshop. The sky was wide, endless, filled with possibilities. He imagined his ships traveling to distant planets, humans exploring new worlds, learning, growing, achieving what no one thought possible. He imagined a future where courage and knowledge were more valuable than money, where humans could rise by their own strength. And in that moment, Tovin made a promise. He would continue to build, to invent, to rise. One day, his ships would reach places no human had gone. One day, people would remember his name, not because he was wealthy, but because he dared to dream, dared to work, and dared to achieve. As he watched the stars, he felt a quiet fire within him, stronger than ever. The skyward arrow had flown. The world had noticed, and Tovin knew that the journey had only just begun. The future would not wait, but he was ready. Years had passed since Tovin had first met. Mira, the small mechanic from the lower decks, had grown into a well-known innovator. His inventions shaping interstellar travel and trade. His company, Aerodynamics, built advanced ships that were faster, safer, and stronger than anything in the galaxy. Orders came from planets far and wide, and his designs inspired a new generation of engineers. Tovin walked confidently through bustling spaceports, respected by traders, engineers, and explorers alike. He had achieved more than he ever dreamed, but he had never forgotten the polite rejection of Mira. The moment that had sparked a quiet fire within him. Mira's life had also changed, but not as dramatically as she thought. She had married Laren, a wealthy and influential trader whose influence and connections provided her with comfort and luxury. She traveled to distant planets, attended elegant galas, and lived in first-class ships. People admired her beauty, her elegance, and her status. Yet, despite the wealth, the parties, and the attention, she felt a quiet emptiness. Sometimes, when the stars stretched across the sky outside her cabin, she remembered the mechanic with grease on his hands, the man who had spoken truth to her about strength and determination. It was a bright morning when news arrived at Myra's estate. A grand gala was to be held at the spaceport city to celebrate a new trade route that promised wealth and prosperity to all who participated. Traders, investors, and engineers from many systems were expected to attend. Mira prepared carefully for the event, choosing an elegant outfit, practicing polite smiles. and learning the names of influential attendees. She was accustomed to events like this, but this gala felt different. Tovin had received an invitation as well. His achievements had made him a notable guest. His company had been asked to present a demonstration of the latest starship technology. He adjusted his suit, a simple but neat outfit that contrasted with the elegant gowns and robes of the other attendees. He did not care about appearances, only about the work he had accomplished and the opportunities that lay ahead as the gala began. Mira moved gracefully through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries and discussing trade agreements. She smiled politely, but her mind wandered to the achievements she had read about in news reports. One name stood out among them, Tovin. She had heard whispers about the brilliant engineer, the man whose ships had changed interstellar travel. Her heart skipped a beat, and a strange feeling of curiosity mixed with regret swept over her. She did not expect to see him at the gala. But when the crowd parted slightly, there he was. Tovin stood near a display of his latest starship, the Skyward Arrow 2, surrounded by people asking questions and admiring his designs. His presence was calm, confident, and magnetic. Myra's breath caught in her throat. He was not the small, humble mechanic she had once known. He was powerful, accomplished, and impossible to ignore. Tovin noticed Mira as well. He recognized her instantly, even after all the years. She had grown in elegance and presence, but her eyes held the same spark he remembered. He felt a quiet pang of recognition, but did not allow it to affect him. He had no reason for anger or resentment. His journey had been about his own growth, and this encounter would be no different. Mira approached cautiously, unsure how to speak. Tovin offered a polite nod, a gesture of acknowledgement and respect. "Mira," he said calmly, his voice steady. "It has been a long time." "Yes," Mira replied softly, her voice careful. "Many years." She felt a mixture of curiosity and unease. You have done remarkable things." Tovin smiled faintly, a quiet pride in his expression. "I have worked hard," he said simply. "That is all anyone can do." Myra's thoughts raced. She remembered the small workshop, the sparks flying from the engine, and the determination in his eyes. She realized with a sudden clarity that she had underestimated him. She had valued wealth and status over skill, heart, and courage. Now, standing before him, she saw the true measure of human achievement. The gala continued around them. But for a few moments, Mira and Tovin were alone in their exchange. Tovin gestured toward the Skyward Arrow 2, the ship gleaming under the bright lights. "Would you like to see it?" he asked. His voice was gentle, inviting, without arrogance. Mira nodded. She followed him, her curiosity stronger than any hesitation. Tovin explained the design, the engineering innovations, and the challenges he had overcome to build the ship. Mira listened closely, fascinated by the depth of knowledge and vision he possessed. She realized that wealth alone could never create such brilliance. Only determination, skill, and courage could produce this level of achievement. As they walked, Mira felt a mix of admiration and regret. She had chosen comfort over courage, wealth over heart. She could not deny that Tovin had accomplished more than she had imagined possible. Yet she also felt hope. Perhaps she could learn from him, understand what true achievement meant, and apply it to her own life. Tovin noticed the change in her demeanor. He did not speak of the past, did not remind her of the rejection. He focused on the present, on sharing knowledge and inspiring curiosity. He believed that people could grow if given the opportunity and guidance, and he saw that Mira was capable of change at one point. They stood near the observation deck, overlooking the bustling spaceport. Ships of all sizes and shapes moved gracefully, engines humming, lights flickering across the metal surfaces. Mira felt a sense of wonder, a feeling she had not experienced in years. She realized that this was what she had been missing, the excitement of creation, exploration, and the pursuit of knowledge. Tovin spoke quietly, pointing toward a distant starship. "Human achievement is not measured by comfort or wealth," he said. "It is measured by effort, courage, and the willingness to face challenges. Every ship we build, every engine we repair, every problem we solve is proof that humans can rise above limitations." Myra listened, absorbing every word. She understood now that true greatness came from action, not inheritance. She had seen it in Tovin, the man she had once dismissed. She felt inspired, but also humbled. The gala continued. But Mira's attention remained on Tovin. She asked questions, listened to explanations, and even offered suggestions. He welcomed her curiosity, treating her as an equal, not a guest or a client. Mira realized that this was what she had lacked in her own life: engagement, challenge, and respect for skill and vision. As the evening drew to a close, Tovin excused himself to attend to other guests and responsibilities. Mira watched him go, feeling a mixture of admiration, regret, and determination. She knew that this encounter had changed her perspective. She could no longer value wealth and status above all else. She wanted to learn, to grow, and to find her own path of meaningful achievement. Tovin returned to his presentation later in the evening. Investors and engineers discussed plans, contracts, and innovations. His company's reputation had grown, and the future seemed full of possibilities. Yet he could not ignore the quiet satisfaction of seeing Mira, of knowing that his journey had not only changed his own life, but it also inspired reflection in someone he had once known. When the gala ended, Mira returned to her cabin, thoughtful and introspective. She gazed out at the stars, realizing that the universe was vast, full of opportunities, challenges, and discoveries. She had lived a life of comfort, but she now understood that true fulfillment came from engagement, creativity, and courage. Tovin had shown her what was possible. Meanwhile, Tovin stood on the observation deck of his workshop, looking at the distant stars. He felt a quiet satisfaction, not from wealth or fame, but from the knowledge that he had followed his path, remained true to himself, and achieved what he had once only dreamed of. He knew that the journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and humans had much to explore, build, and discover. And so, Tovin and Mira's paths crossed again, separated by years, status, and experience, yet connected by curiosity, respect, and the quiet lessons of human achievement. Mira had seen what courage and skill could create, and Tovin had seen that the choices people make shape their lives in ways beyond imagination. The encounter was brief. Its impact would be long-lasting. Mira understood that wealth alone was not enough, and Tovin understood that true accomplishment came from dedication, vision, and the courage to rise above circumstance. Both were changed, both inspired, and both aware that the universe offered endless possibilities for those willing to reach beyond comfort, expectation, and fear. The stars shone brightly over the spaceport that night, reflecting the dreams, determination, and potential of humanity. Mira and Tovin had learned much from each other, and the journey of growth, achievement, and discovery was far from over. The future awaited, vast and full of promise, and both of them were ready to face it in their own ways. After the gala, Tovin returned to his workshop, but the encounter with Mira lingered in his mind. Her curiosity, her hesitation, the quiet admiration she had shown, reminded him that human hearts could change when given the chance to see truth and effort. Tovin believed that true greatness came not from wealth or influence, but from skill, courage, and determination. He wanted Mira to understand this not through lectures or harsh words, but by seeing it with her own eyes. The next morning, Tovin received an urgent message from the Council of Starship Engineers. They had discovered a dangerous anomaly in a nearby sector of the galaxy, an asteroid field that moved unpredictably and threatened several trade routes. Many ships had already been damaged. The Council asked for Tovin's expertise in designing a safe passage and rescue operation. He saw an opportunity to test not only his skills but also Myra's understanding of true achievement. He contacted Myra with a polite invitation. "If you are willing, I would like you to witness the operation," he wrote. "It is a chance to see what dedication and human skill can achieve." Mira hesitated but agreed. She felt a strange mix of anticipation and apprehension. She had spent years in comfort and luxury, but something about Tovin's invitation stirred a longing for adventure, for engagement, for understanding. She arrived at the workshop, dressed simply yet elegantly, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and determination. Tovin greeted her with a calm smile. "Welcome," he said. "I hope you are ready to see something extraordinary." The workshop was already buzzing with activity. Engineers studied star maps, pilots prepared specialized ships, and apprentices checked engines and fuel systems. Tovin explained that the asteroid field had unpredictable gravitational shifts that could crush even the sturdiest vessels. Traditional navigation methods would fail, and human ingenuity would be the only solution. Mira listened attentively as Tovin outlined the plan. His design was simple, yet brilliant. The ships would use a combination of advanced sensors, adaptive propulsion, and precise timing to navigate the moving asteroids safely. Every decision required skill, courage, and trust in human capability. Mira realized that this was not just a technical challenge, it was a test of character. Tovin led Mira to the command deck of the first ship. The interior hummed with energy, displays showing asteroid trajectories, ship velocity, and gravitational fluctuations. Mira could feel the power of human skill in every panel, every lever, every carefully calculated movement. She was fascinated. "Do you understand what we are doing?" Tovin asked quietly. Mira nodded. "We are guiding the ships through danger, using skill and intelligence. Every choice matters." Tovin smiled. "Exactly. Wealth cannot save these ships. Influence cannot change their course. Only human effort, observation, and courage will ensure success." As the ships launched, Mira held her breath. The asteroid field was more chaotic than she had imagined. Massive rocks drifted unpredictably, their paths shifting with every moment. The pilots relied on Tovin's designs, their own skill, and constant communication to navigate the field. Mira watched, amazed at the precision, bravery, and coordination displayed. Every second was a demonstration of human potential, of the ability to rise above danger through intelligence and courage. Suddenly, a small asteroid broke away from its path, heading toward one of the ships. Mira gasped, fearing disaster. Tovin remained calm. "Trust the design," he said. "Trust the skill of those involved. Humans can overcome challenges when they work together." The pilots reacted swiftly, adjusting their thrusters, recalculating trajectories, and guiding the ship past the asteroid. Mira watched in awe as the vessel avoided destruction by inches. She realized that this was more than a test of technology. It was a test of the human spirit. Courage, quick thinking, and determination had saved the ship. Over the next hours, Mira witnessed several ships navigating the dangerous field. Each success was a demonstration of human ingenuity and teamwork. She felt a growing respect for the mechanics, engineers, and pilots, and above all, for Tovin, who had designed the system and guided the operation. After the final ship emerged safely from the asteroid field, the engineers cheered, and Mira felt a surge of admiration and humility. She understood that wealth and comfort alone could not create such achievements. Only skill, effort, and courage could produce results that mattered. Tovin turned to Mira, his expression calm but thoughtful. "Do you see now?" he asked. "True greatness is not measured by status or riches. It is measured by the choices we make, the effort we put in, and the courage we show in the face of challenges." Mira nodded, her eyes shining. "I understand. I see now that my life has been focused on comfort, and I have missed the chance to grow through challenges. You have shown me that true strength comes from effort and heart." Tovin smiled faintly. "It is never too late to learn, Mira. People can always change. The question is whether they are willing to act, to take risks, and to rise above fear and expectation." Mira felt a quiet determination settle within her. She realized that she wanted to engage more fully in life, to learn, and to contribute in meaningful ways. She had been trapped by the expectations of comfort and status, but now she saw that true fulfillment came from effort, courage, and skill. Tovin and Mira spent the next hours discussing the operation, analyzing the choices made, and reviewing the results. Mira asked questions, offered ideas, and participated fully in the process. Tovin welcomed her input, treating her as an equal, not a guest. Myra felt a sense of empowerment she had never known before. As the sun set over the spaceport, Myra and Tovin stood on the observation deck, looking out at the sky. Ships moved gracefully in the distance, each one a testament to human skill and determination. Myra felt a deep sense of admiration and humility. She understood that she had much to learn. But she also realized that growth was possible if she applied effort and courage. Tovin spoke quietly, almost to himself. Humans are capable of extraordinary things. We can rise above circumstance, poverty, and fear if we have determination, skill, and heart. That is the true measure of strength. Mira turned to him, her voice soft but firm. Thank you, Tovin. You have shown me what is possible. I understand. Now that courage, skill, and determination matter more than wealth or comfort. Tovin nodded. Remember, Mira, it is not enough to understand. Action is what defines us. We can admire greatness, but we must also pursue it ourselves. Mira felt a spark of resolve within her. She knew that her life could change, that she could rise above expectation and comfort to achieve something meaningful. She looked at Tovin, not with regret, but with gratitude. He had shown her the power of human effort, the strength of determination, and the value of courage. The night grew quiet, the stars shining brightly above the spaceport. Myra and Tovin stood together, separated by experience and years, yet connected by understanding and respect. The lesson was clear. True achievement comes from effort, skill, and heart, not from wealth or status. Tovin returned to his workshop, satisfied that Mira had seen the truth for herself. He knew that the galaxy held many challenges and opportunities, and that humans could rise to meet them if they had courage and determination. He had proven his own potential, and now he had inspired another to seek their own path of growth and achievement. Mira returned to her home, her mind alive with new ideas and determination. She realized that she had much to learn, and that the journey of understanding and growth would be challenging but rewarding. She was ready to face her own obstacles, inspired by Tovin's example, and eager to pursue a life defined by courage, skill, and heart. And so, the test of character was complete. Mira had witnessed human achievement at its finest, shown that true greatness comes from effort, vision, and courage. Both of them had learned from the encounter, and both were changed. The galaxy awaited, full of challenges, discoveries, and opportunities, and they were ready to face it in their own ways. The morning sun rose over the spaceport city, casting long beams of light across the bustling docks and hovering ships. Tovin walked through the streets, his mind alive with plans for new starships and technologies. Aerodynamics had grown far beyond the small workshop where he had begun. Engineers, pilots, and apprentices moved through the large facility, each contributing their skills and ideas. Tovin smiled quietly as he watched them work. Every ship, every invention, every plan was a testament to human determination and effort. Despite his success, Tovin never let himself forget the lessons of his journey. He remembered the long nights in the small workshop, the moments of doubt, and the spark of inspiration that had carried him forward. He remembered Myra, too, not with regret but with gratitude. Her rejection years ago had fueled his determination, teaching him that true growth comes from within, not from the approval of others. That morning, Tovin received a message from Mira. She had been working quietly on her own projects. Inspired by the lessons she had learned during their encounter in the asteroid field, she had studied trade systems, engineering principles, and human collaboration, seeking to apply her understanding in meaningful ways. Mira asked to meet Tovin, to discuss new ideas and possible collaboration. When she arrived at the workshop, Tovin greeted her warmly. "Mira," he said, "it is good to see you again." "And you, Tovin," she replied, her voice calm and confident. "I have been learning a lot. Your example has shown me what humans can achieve when they act with courage and determination. I want to contribute in my own way." Tovin nodded. "The universe is vast, and there are many challenges. We can accomplish more when we combine skill, knowledge, and effort. I would be glad to see your contributions. They spent the day walking through the workshop, discussing ideas for new ships, improved propulsion systems, and ways to help explorers navigate dangerous sectors. Mira asked thoughtful questions, offered suggestions, and engaged with the engineers. Tovin watched her closely, impressed by her growth and determination. She had changed from someone who valued comfort above all else into a person willing to learn, work, and contribute. Later, they stood on the observation deck, looking at the fleet of ships ready for launch. The sky above was dotted with vessels of all shapes and sizes, engines humming quietly as pilots prepared for new journeys. Tovin gestured toward the horizon. "Do you see that, Mira? Every ship represents effort, skill, and courage. Every person on board has trained, studied, and worked to reach this moment. That is the true strength of humanity." Myra nodded. "I see it now. Wealth and comfort alone cannot create this. Only effort, skill, and heart can achieve greatness. I want to live by that truth, Tovin." Tovin smiled. "Then you are ready. The universe has many challenges, and we will need minds and hearts like yours to meet them. But remember, greatness is not only in invention or exploration. It is in action, in courage, and in helping others rise as we rise ourselves." As the fleet prepared for launch, Tovin showed Mira the latest ship, the Skyward Arrow 3, an advanced vessel designed for long-distance exploration and research. Its engines gleamed, its systems hummed with energy, and it was ready to face the unknown reaches of space. Mira marveled at the precision, the innovation, and the vision behind it. Tovin gestured toward the control panel. "This ship is not just a machine. It is a symbol of human potential. Every calculation, every design, every modification is the result of determination and skill. It represents what humans can achieve when they refuse to be limited by circumstance." Myra looked at him, inspired and humbled. "It is incredible. I wish I could have been involved sooner, but I am ready to contribute now." Tovin nodded. "It is never too late to begin. Growth and achievement are not measured by when we start, but by the effort we put in and the courage we show." As the fleet launched into space, Mira watched with awe. The ships moved with precision, navigating carefully through the crowded port before heading toward distant stars. She felt a sense of excitement and possibility she had never known in her life of comfort and ease. For the first time, she understood the value of courage, effort, and skill. Tovin stayed at the observation deck, watching the ships disappear into the distance. He felt a quiet satisfaction. His journey had been long, challenging, and sometimes lonely, but it had been worthwhile. He had achieved greatness not through wealth or influence, but through skill, determination, and heart. He had also inspired someone else to grow, to learn, to pursue their own path of meaningful achievement. Later that evening, Mira approached Tovin once more. "I have been thinking," she said. "I want to dedicate my time to helping others learn, explore, and grow. Your example has shown me that effort and courage matter more than comfort and status. I want to be part of that journey." Tovin smiled, his eyes calm and steady. "Then you are ready, Mira. The universe has endless possibilities. Those who act with determination, skill, and heart can achieve remarkable things. Together, we can help others rise as we rise." Over the following months, Mira worked alongside Tovin and his team. She studied engineering principles, trade systems, and space navigation. She contributed ideas for new ship designs, helped coordinate rescue missions, and supported apprentices and explorers. She had transformed from someone focused on comfort and status into a person driven by curiosity, courage, and the desire to make a difference. Tovin observed her growth with quiet pride. He knew that true achievement was not about wealth or recognition, but about action, determination, and the courage to pursue challenges. Mira had learned this lesson, and she embodied it fully. One morning, Tovin stood on the launch platform, watching a new expedition prepare to leave for uncharted planets. Mira joined him, her eyes bright with anticipation and determination. The ships lifted into the sky, engines roaring with energy and precision. Tovin felt a deep satisfaction knowing that human potential had been realized once again. Mira turned to him. "Thank you, Tovin. You have changed my life. I understand now that true greatness comes from effort, courage, and heart. I want to live by that truth every day." Tovin smiled, a quiet, confident smile. "You already are, Mira. The journey is just beginning, and the universe is full of opportunities for those who are willing to act with determination and courage. Remember, human potential is limitless, and every challenge is an opportunity to rise." As the stars sparkled above, Tovin and Mira stood together, looking out at the vastness of space. The ships moved gracefully, each one a testament to human skill, courage, and determination. The future was wide, full of challenges, discoveries, and adventures. They both knew that the universe would demand effort, creativity, and bravery. But they were ready. Mira had learned that comfort and wealth were not the measures of life. True achievement came from action, skill, and courage. Tovin had proven that humans could rise above circumstance, challenge, and expectation through determination and heart. Together, they had rewritten their understanding of the future, embracing the potential of human achievement and the power of dreams, realized through effort. As night fell over the spaceport city, Tovin returned to his office, reviewing plans for new ships and exploring the possibilities of distant worlds. Mira stayed at the observation deck, watching the stars and reflecting on her growth. They were both aware that life was a series of challenges, opportunities, and discoveries. The measure of a person was not in wealth or comfort, but in courage, skill, and heart. And so, the story reached its turning point. Tovin had built a legacy of skill, innovation, and human potential. Mira had discovered the value of growth, effort, and courage. The future awaited them, vast and full of possibility. A canvas upon which humans could rise, achieve, and explore without limit. The stars above the spaceport shone brightly, reflecting the dreams, determination, and spirit of humanity. Tovin and Mira had both learned the same lesson, that true greatness comes not from inheritance, status, or wealth, but from courage, skill, and the courage to act. The Skyward Arrow 3 prepared for its next journey, engines humming with power and precision. Mira and Tovin watched it lift off, hearts filled with hope, determination, and the knowledge that humans could rise above any challenge. The universe was vast, full of opportunities and discoveries, and they were ready to embrace it with skill, courage, and heart. In that moment, both of them understood that the journey of human achievement was endless. Every starship, every invention, every act of courage was proof that humans could rise above circumstance, expectation, and fear. They had learned, grown, and embraced their potential. The future belonged to those who dared to act, to build, and to rise.